Hello, Steelers Nation. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Steel City Insider podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremy Ritz, alongside the publisher of Steel City Insider, Jim Wexell. And once again, we're welcoming back Craig Wolfley to the show. And for the first time, we have Frank Verdecchia, writer for Steel City Insider, here with us today. And gentlemen, we're coming off a Steelers loss to the Browns. And Wolf, let's start with you. And let's talk about the smacking of a mule and how and why this loss to the Browns, as you describe it, is an attitude adjuster.
Well, in my mind, I mean, as I kind of go back over the years, I mean, you're starting to turn and point towards the barn run. You know, I mean, nothing heads for a barn faster than a mule or a horse. At the end of the day, boom, they're going, right? So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking to myself, okay, they're fixated. You got 8-2 versus 2-8, and all of a sudden you run into this situation where you lose to a team that you really should have beat, and you had every opportunity to beat. And I kind of look at it and go, you know, it's kind of like maybe an attitude adjuster getting ready for this final gauntlet that you're going to face. And it took me back to my childhood when my dad was telling a story about this mule that his farmer had. And you know what? He said that, you know, you got to get a 2x4 and smack the mule first. I'm like, Dad, why would you smack a mule like that? He goes, you got to get their attention. And this is an attention getter for the Steelers. Everybody right now is fixated talking about the fact, hey, look, you got to focus and hunker down, dog, because right now is now. This is it. This is the gauntlet coming up. And you got to be ready for it.
You know, Wolf, the best line out of that, your column, was that old farmer that used to smack mules back in the 70s and 80s and early 90s, yeah. Chuck Knoll.
Yeah.
When you had said to Chuck, hey, why don't we go for that on 4th and 1? And he said, offensive lines need to deserve to go for it on 4th and 1.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know that this Steelers team, offensive line, yet deserves to go for it on 4th and 1.
They've shown themselves having problems with it. I was just watching the film again, you know, and one of the things when you have instant penetration and the A gaps, B gaps, things like that, you're going to have problems making first downs. And that's exactly what happened. When you start doing that and you start to bring a whammer in, and the whammer's getting whammed because the whammer, the whammy, wham, the whammer, then you got issues, right? So that became a problem. And that's, you know, the thing about this, and let's not lose sight of this. There's a lot of good things that happened in Cleveland. They outrushed the Browns. They outpassed the Browns. They took takeaways from the Browns. They were better on the third down possessions, but they weren't on the fourth, and they weren't in the critical situations they had in the second half. And that's what cost them the game.
Well, and let me put this out there to Frank and Jeremy. Do we blame Mike Tomlin for going for it on 4th and 1 with an offensive line that is yet to deserve to go for it on 4th and 1? You just can't say, if we can't make a yard, we don't deserve to win. I mean, Chuck was smart. I love Chuck's line about it. You got to show me something first. What do you guys think?
I don't see a problem with it. My problem is more with the running backs, and I see them giving them the ball. It seems like usually Harris or Warren is like sidestep, and then they get the handoff, and then they're going to the line of scrimmage, and then someone's waiting for him to tackle him. What if you put Connor Hayward back there, motion him into the fullback position, maybe give him a quick handoff, or let him at least lead the way and don't have Harris or Warren catching getting the ball so far behind the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but, you know, when you're continually attempting to convert these short yardage opportunities and you're coming up short, at some point you have to take some of the risk off the table and just live to fight the next series and punt. So I'm kind of on the fence. I'm Switzerland here with it. Yeah, I can see the value of it, but being as tight of a game as it was and as error prone as they were, it may have been the better option to punt.
Well, the thing is, it was the same way they've played all year. I really saw nothing new except they didn't get the breaks this time. And I thought, frankly, I mean, Wolf, you said it's a game they should have won. I mean, you break it down. I think the Browns have better talent in a lot of places, and they matched up better. They were at home. This was their Super Bowl. They weren't using DeShaun Watson. As I said on this podcast a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, This gauntlet's tougher than we thought it was. They must win against Washington. They must win at home in the division games. Cleveland, I mean, look at those corners. You shut down the, one George Pickens and the rest are shut downable. The running backs are easy to stuff. The Browns have a better running back, better receivers, better cornerbacks, a better pass rusher because they had the better tackle. They had the best tackle on the field. Jack Conklin blocked T.J. Watt, and with a lot of help too. But Conklin's a good tackle, and that made Myles Garrett the best pass rusher on the field. Jameis Winston was not DeShaun Watson, and Njoku is might be a better threat than Freiermuth. Better corners. I don't see where this was a game they should have won. I don't see. I just see it as every other game they played, except they didn't get the breaks at the end.
Well, here's where I go. One of the things I look at. All right, that's since you brought up Pat Freiermuth, he's 4 for 4 targets. Okay, if you go back and watch the end zone, every time he ran that in route, okay, that slight in route to the goalpost, he was wide open. I mean, and Russ hit him. It was there all day for the taking. And just like one of the things about Tom Brady that I always loved about him, the killer instinct. All right, when he tasted blood in the defense, that dude was putting his finger on it. He's going after it every single time until you shut me down. When you shut me down, then I'll go elsewhere. But I'm going to make you bleed. And right now, I taste blood. I'm going to make you bleed. And that, to me, I think you should have had 8, 9, 10 throws or targets to Freiermuth, because he was that open every time he ran that in route. And it doesn't have to just be the in route, but the kid was hot, and I just think that's how you got to approach it like that. If I'm just thinking out loud here, but that's truly something I really thought should have been more explored.
Like on 3rd and 4?
Yeah, the 3rd and 4. Yeah, exactly. So that would have been a real good idea.
Kind of going along with what you guys are talking about there. Are you seeing from this offense that there's more of a propensity to go for the deep shot or the moon ball than it is to just slowly and methodically, thoughtfully, rhythmically work your way down the field?
Well, are you talking about matriculating your way?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and they did a number of it. I mean, they were still, this game was, again, it was eminently winnable. I felt in my mind, and one of the things I always look at, I take a look at, you look at Myles Garrett. Okay. Myles Garrett had a good game. All right. He is the reigning defensive player of the year, no matter how you want to look at it, whether who's better who, but he is, and he had something he wanted to prove. But I got to tell you something, he got prior to this in 12 games. Let's see, Myles Garrett had 6 sacks. All right. In prior to this game here. All right. I mean, it was, he didn't have that many. He got a lot there. Now he's got 9 or was something like that. I can't remember the exact, but TJ had a lot more, in about the same amount of games. And what I'm saying is that TJ just didn't have all that type of game that everybody expected from him. But, even Superman has a little bit of kryptonite from now and then. It does happen.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue, Wolf. Frank.
What about the moon balls, though?
Hey, they were completing them. The one to, who was it, Van Jefferson, George Pickens and stuff.
Well, that's the thing.
But the 3rd and 4 wasn't throwing that ball.
Throws a moon ball to Mike Williams to win a game.
Yeah.
And he's coach of the year. Throws a moon ball to George Pickens, who was one-on-one with a cornerback not named Denzel Ward. And, fire Tomlin. It just gets old. So anyway, I know it was Justin Fields throwing the pass. That didn't really befront me. Everyone expected him to run. I mean, he's a professional quarterback. I know he doesn't throw a lovely deep ball, but you could have easily got. I really didn't have that big a problem with the 3rd and 4 call. And anyway, now back to TJ Watt. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Can I just say this just really quick? I was out in Seattle. I was on a slide protection. The outside linebacker came on a blitz. I knew I had that guy at the snap, right? I'm going to slide out. But I saw the back out of the corner of my eye going at him. And for some reason, I blanked and went, oh, the back's picking him up. I must, and so I went inside. Well, I turned him loose and created a very bad play at that moment in time, even though I freaking knew it. It's like, what are you gonna do now? I blew it, and that's sometimes what happens. You hiccup under pressure, and like I did out in Seattle how many years ago, and it was just a bad decision, a bad choice.
Yeah.
Like the punter. 12 yards. Was it 12 yards?
I think it was what? Oh, somebody help me out because my fact checking is bad.
Well, the 12 or 15. Well, I mean, the other punter had a 12 or 15, but I mean, that was key. That was a key play.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was inevitable at some point this year. The replacement punter would have shanked one. It's a bad time.
It was bad weather too, so that's more likely to happen too when it's snowing out and you can't even see in front of you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, remember the Giants punter whiffed on a ball in the Chicago snow back in your day, Wolf?
Yeah. We had a lot of things happening back in the 80s and 90s.
All right, let's bring it over here to Frank. I know you'd written about TJ having his kryptonite and how he needs some help. You want to go into what you talked about in your column and what you saw in this past game?
Yeah, what I saw a team that the Steelers did not have a good game, and they still should have won the game. And the reason they should have is, we're so used to seeing TJ Watt make that play on those last series. You look at the Giants game, he sacks Daniel Jones, punches the ball out, gets the fumble recovery, and it wins the game. And you saw it in Las Vegas, what he did. He does it all the time, and all of a sudden now he doesn't do it, and they lose. And it was like he's being double teamed the whole time. He's trying to run through snow. And after a while, I mean, he's only human. You're going to get tired after a while. How many double teams can you take? And it seems like, I don't know, Highsmith and Herbig are pretty similar players. So if Highsmith comes back, maybe that's the extra third rusher. And maybe that takes a little heat off TJ, or maybe they need to blitz more because they didn't blitz against the Browns, it seemed like. And I mean, it's like I said, when we watch him play, we all think he wears a cape because he's so special. And when he doesn't show up, you're like, oh my God, TJ Watt, where was he today? But like I said, he's human.
If you look at the guys coming free, I mean, Nick Herbig made the play to win the game. Nick Herbig is a monster.
Yes.
He was coming free all game. And Highsmith, the game before he got injured, 12 quarterback pressures. So I would assume that has a lot to do with TJ getting double and triple and chipped and whatever's they're doing with TJ. I'm
You're
not focusing
exactly
on
correct.
TJ. Yeah. But, the 3rd and 7 play, which could have been a 4th and 2. 3rd and 7, 4th and 2. I like the 3rd and 7 because I mean, that was the part of the game where I thought Winston was going to be mistake prone, which he was. Herbig caused the fumble on the strip sack the series before, right? So here you are pushing them back into 3rd and 7. Here comes the pass rush. They should have blitzed, Frank. You're exactly right. They should have blitzed more. I'd like to see them blitz a little more. They think they can get there with 4, but that was the time of the game. Anyway, the 3rd and 7, 4th and 2. Do we have any thoughts about that? Remember, he declined.
It got kind of botulated, for me. I mean, I was like trying to understand because it seemed to go both ways. It was like, well, yes, they're going to mark it up, then they weren't. And then I really was wondering what in the world happened. Was there a miscommunication? I would rather the 4th and 2 myself. I really would. Because it's all or nothing. Lay it on the line, and they still could have rolled the dice and done it, no problem. I mean, that's what football is.
I agree with that. I think they should have probably made it 4th and 2, and then forced the Browns to kick the field goal. And then if they kick the field goal, you're down 2, but you have more time, and all you need is a field goal to win the game instead of a touchdown. And you still have 2 timeouts left. Tomlin used the timeout later than that, and I think your chances of winning the game are a lot greater than giving up that touchdown. You got like 53 seconds left and 1 timeout, and clearly see the end result.
That's the beauty of being a writer. I can agree with both you guys. I understood the hesitation. What did you call it? Botulism?
Yeah, well, you botulate the whole thing.
Botulate.
Yeah.
I was botulating myself. When I watch them, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. All right, 4th and 2. Let them kick now. Oh, wait, they're not going to kick. Send them back. Get a sack here. Make them wish they kicked. So I really didn't know. I was glad I wasn't the coach making that decision.
Exactly. And that's, but here's the thing about it. Jameis Winston, the Browns are better with Jameis Winston. I mean, 2-2 under that guy.
Absolutely.
I got a lot of respect for him. I mean, the dude had never even played in snow before, and he's all excited like a kid in Christmas, he wants to be out there rolling around in the snow and everything like that. And, enthusiasm like that, it's infectious. And he certainly was participating in as Chuck Noll would always say, it's your enthusiasm. All right. It's not about emotion. It's your enthusiasm that is infectious.
Yeah.
And I don't know what his contract status is, but he's also playing for another contract or playing to maybe he doesn't feel like his career's done yet. And maybe he can't start somewhere else. I mean, there's a lot of teams with bad quarterbacks. So he's got a lot to play for, where DeShaun Watson's making $250 million and doesn't even have to show up for the game.
Well, that's the thing about the Browns. You have to believe the owner is making them play DeShaun Watson when he's healthy, because he's paying him so much money.
Yeah, I mean, are you kidding me? How could you not? It's mind-boggling what they've done in that situation. I always said, I'm so good at doing nothing that if I could get paid for doing nothing, I'd be a millionaire. Shoot, that's exactly what DeShaun Watson's doing.
Yeah. Well, it was.
Well, I don't know if watching football is really all that hard, but no, I joke about that, but I know how much work we put into it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, it shouldn't have been a surprise. We talked last week, Jim, about this potentially being a trap game, coming off an emotional win there against the Ravens, but also too, if you look at the Tomlin stat, his record, and Frank, this is from your piece. Tomlin's record on Thursday night games, 2-9. So it was the confluence of several factors that just kind of pointed to a dud of a game, and that's really what we saw on the field. But that leads.
Let me put this to Wolf, since he's done this before. They're 0-4 at Cleveland in this Thursday night. Tomlin mess 2-9. There's 0-4 at Cleveland. Do you want to stop taking the bus there? I mean, is there another way?
I do. I want to stop taking the bus.
What?
I want to stop taking the bus.
Yeah. Do you think that's part of it? Did I take a bus the day before?
All I can tell, we take a bus the day before, I mean, I went up the day before the game. The way the airports are set up, it's just, it's almost the same to fly as it is to bus to Cleveland, is what I've always been told. We've always bused there. I mean, from way back in 1980.
You've always lost there.
Well, I didn't say that, It just so happens that we always bust there. That's just the way it was. I mean, it's a tough series. It was the history between these two teams. I mean, Ozzie Newsome, I remember, I think it was 87 or something. Ozzie Newsome, 88, and somewhere in there, the Browns won at Three Rivers yet again, but it wasn't by the 51-0 score in 89. But I remember it was the first time Ozzie had won in Pittsburgh. So after the game is over, he's standing there, and I'm Tunch and I are coming off the field. We see Ozzie, and he's just looking around. He's like all by himself, just doing a slow 360, looking at Three Rivers. And I said, Ozzie, what are you doing? He goes, I've never won here. I just need a moment, okay? And he just, I mean, that's the way it was. It was a hard-hitting series between the two, the Turnpike rivalry. And it still has elements of it.
And Cleveland takes a bus here?
Cleveland takes a bus here, yeah.
It's the bus.
Maybe we got to fly.
It's transportation is the cause of this loss. And maybe they're going to be taking a bus again this weekend, because on to Cincinnati, and this is a rivalry game. It's not going to get any easier. They're coming off a bye. Where does this team stand heading into another AFC North battle?
It's not getting any easier. I mean, I got to think Cincinnati's going to win this one. The home, you got to win at home against these opponents, for one. You beat the Redskins. You got to beat Cleveland at home. I don't know. if you can find one road win, and Cincinnati's going to be tough. I don't know that the Steelers have the secondary for this.
I'm sorry, Jim.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Those next two games just got so important now because you're going to Philadelphia, Baltimore, and then you got the Chiefs at home on Christmas Day. And now those two games there that maybe seemed a couple weeks ago like, oh, we Steelers got those. And now you got the pressure of building of now we have to win those games because they could easily lose 5 in a row.
Oh, when's the Cleveland
6,
home?
including last week's, but 5, and when I mean 5 after that.
Yeah.
When's Cleveland at home?
Next after the Bengals game.
Okay, so that should be a win. You would think.
Yeah, you would think.
Favored.
Yeah,
they don't have to bust to Cleveland, so they should win.
Right.
Good point by you, Frank.
They're not winning in Philly. I don't think they're winning in Baltimore. And I think Kansas City's a win. Kansas, are they bussing in for that 4-day? I mean, that's a Saturday to Wednesday. That's like a Sunday to Thursday. Kansas City's not going to be real enthused about that game.
No, of course they're not. But, here's the thing about it. We're projecting, but we don't even know what it's going to be like next week. This is the thing about the NFL. The landscape of the NFL changes weekly. There's players on the rise. There's players on the fall. There are players who have things going on in their lives that we know nothing about. And that's why I always find it very hard to predict these things. I know everybody else likes to, but I've spent too much time as a player knowing all the kind of things that kind of go into the mixing of a game to make the proper recipe, as it were, for a win. And it's just like sometimes you get down this great track and you're winning, like the Steelers coming 5 wins in a row. They're headed for a fall sooner or later. It just happens. That's the nature of the beast, and it's kind of like you got to get smacked in the face and regroup and reload. But listen, this team is capable of doing anything. They can go toe-to-toe with Kansas City, or they can get upset by a 2-8 team, such as they just did. Now, again, that's humans going about their work. If you look at the offensive line, these young guys who've been playing at such a high level, they didn't play at such a high level on that offensive line. Okay? Those things happen. For why, it's kind of inexplicable, but maybe it had something to do with the snow globe and everything else going on out there in the game, and maybe it was a little bit hard traction-wise. I find that when you're standing all the way up in a 2-point, sometimes, you got to get into a 3-point. You got to roll off that front foot. You got to put your forehead right in some guy's chin and drive your fist in a rip to rack, man, and take him off the ball. And I just, that's kind of old school, but, it's part still of the NFL.
Well, the Steelers, like somebody wrote on the message board, they have a run-based offense without a run-based offense. I mean, that's the problem. They're going to want to do everything that Wolf's saying against Cincinnati, and Tomlin almost promised that Najee was going to show what he has against Cincinnati after 3 pretty bad games. And, he had 3 good games against some horrible teams. So Cincinnati's run defense has always been suspect. Here we go. We're gonna put our head down. We're gonna smack the mule. We're gonna plow. We're gonna go for it on 4th down. We're gonna use Najee. Is it gonna work? I don't know, man.
I think so, man. I'm ever hopeful. That's the optimism that I've always had as a player. That's been my view behind the face mask, to throw a Tomlinism in there. That's just the nature of the beast. You go into the game. You don't go into the game going, oh, gee, I hope we can win this. Man, it's got to be full steam ahead.
But you don't go into the game saying, man, I hope Najee can give us 60 yards today. I'm so jealous of Saquon Barkley. He only cost $36 million for 3 years. That's $12 million a year. That's a special back. Now, that's the kind of running back that makes it a run-based offense.
Well, can I say this? How many other backs in the entire NFL have you seen spin off a tackle and then do a reverse? I don't even know what to call it. You jump in the air and you jump over a man backwards. How do you even
what do you mean?
That?
Najee's jump in the air right into the guy's arms?
Well, I'm talking about Saquon. One
right.
Move,
Right. There are great running backs out there.
Right,
there
but
are running
how
backs.
many other backs have you seen pull that move off? Nobody. I mean, that was just so ridiculous. That's what that is a great back. There's no question.
But you can win with Najee Harris. You can win with Jaylen Warren.
They're 8-3. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's
you're
been
not going to
proven.
beat the teams every week. You're not going to be a machine. You're going to lose games, and it's not just because of Tomlin ball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been proven time and again in the past that you don't need a stud running back, first round pick running back to be successful in the NFL. Now, yes,
if you have a run-based offense, it is.
Well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, but how run, like you said, they have a run-based offense without a run-based offense.
Without a running back.
Yeah, without a running back, but they have two. I mean, I don't know why they don't play Warren more often and give him more of the carries.
Yeah.
Well, they're still 8th in rushing in the league. You know, I mean, they're doing something right. And those backs are doing something right. They're still quality backs. Again, with Russ, now maybe with Russ, you got to temper some of the long ball stuff. But again, I go back to the Freiermuth and here's the other thing too. Darnell Washington is becoming a legit threat, a legit weapon. I cannot get over how these defensive backs, even linebackers, I see curling up 5 yards away from this thundering herd of 300-pound man coming at you. You know, I mean, that's a lot of meat.
Wolf, I'm curling up in the press box, brother.
You know, I can only tell you, I feel the thuds deep in my DNA, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, we're going to find out how they respond this weekend. It's a 1:00 game. That's not a 4:25er, right?
It's 1:00. Yeah.
Yeah. 1:00. So, hey, nothing cures a loss like a win. So, hopefully they can get it done here this weekend. Anything else before we wrap up here? You guys want to hit on?
I just
talk
want
too much.
to buy my
Let them
book
guys
on Black
talk.
Friday. JimWexel.com. I'll autograph it for you. It's beautiful. The history of the Steelers. Look at that. There's your boy. Who did we open it to? A running back and a coach.
Yes. Merrill Hodge. One of the greatest things about Merrill was his ability to translate Bubby Brister when he got all excited and spoke too much Cajun in the huddle.
Nobody needed Bubby to translate to the press. I mean, when he said we should just punt on first down, everybody knew what he was talking. I'm fixing to come unglued. You know, some of the greatest lines ever.
Good times, gentlemen. Well, thanks so much, Wolf, Frank, for being here.
Yeah, guys,
check out Jim's book. That's going to be linked in the show notes. And we'll see you back here for another episode next week, hopefully discussing a Steelers victory. Gentlemen, have a happy Thanksgiving, and a happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there, all of our subscribers and viewers. Take care, everybody.
See you, boys.
Happy Thanksgiving.
But